everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course, we're talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, new episodes go up every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page. That's the video version, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, that's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you want to get subscribed to the YouTube page because that's where I put my extra reviews out. I haven't been able to do too many recently just because I've been so swamped with work. But I'm going to get back to that very, very soon here. And I'll be able to finish up the last few episodes here of Killer Camp. And I can get back in the interview with the vampire and Let the Right One In. I'm going to be doing all of that here super, super soon. Also, if you search for T Watches a Scary Movie or TWASM on your favorite podcasting platforms, you can find the audio version. So, find me however you need to now. We're going to jump right into things, though, because, folks, last week was the season finale of Season 2 of Chucky. That's right, Chucky Actually, and we got a full-fledged Christmas episode. If you remember, Episode 7 left off that things were, for the most part, finished off for Jake, Devin, Lexi, Alec, Andy, Kyle, Nika. Basically, as far as they know, they're able to kill the last remaining Chucky. Dr. Mixter escaped away from the Catholic school, and all was kind of really well at that point, except for the fact that Nika ended up shooting Glenn, who was attempting to save Tiffany. So, where was that going to leave us here in our final episode of the season? And we find out that during Dr. Mixter's escape with the final Chucky doll, that Dr. Mixter unfortunately ended up having a body swap with the final Chucky, who took over her body and left Andy to kill the last remaining, as we thought, Chucky doll with Dr. Mixter's soul inside. So Dr. Mixter is gone. We then find out that, hey, Dr. Mixter kept a secret doll stashed in her office, and Chucky proceeded to transfer his soul over into this doll's body, leaving the police to assume that Dr. Mixter died at that point. Now, we knew what was coming. I even said it last week there, that with Glenn getting shot, it kind of left it pretty foregone conclusion that Glenn and Glenda were going to have to end up back in the original doll. I didn't see any other way of getting around that, and that's exactly what ended up happening, is that Tiffany ended up having to sneak inside the hospital, and using a voodoo ritual, they were able to put Glenn and Glenda's soul back into the original doll. Now, the thing is that it was so cool because we find out that Billy Boyd came back to voice Glenda, known as Gigi now, which is fantastic. That's really cool that they've adopted that name there. I think it works. I think Gigi is a great name, and it was very cool to see this doll back in action again after about 20 years or so. You'll have to help me because, folks, I don't remember the exact date that Seed of Chucky came out. Actually, that might have been like 04, 05, I want to say. But around 20 years since Billy Boyd got to do this and got all that Lord of the Rings fame and everything. And yeah, Billy Boyd is back voicing Gigi. And where we didn't know what was going to end up happening at this point, we find out that Gigi is going to head off to England to learn a little bit more about their origins. And unfortunately for Tiffany's not really invited on this quest for Gigi to find a little bit more out about themselves. So they have a tearful goodbye, but Gigi's off to England, and who knows what's gonna happen. I'm so excited because we have to get a season 3. We have to get a season 3 unless we're getting another movie at that point. But I'm excited to see where we could go with Gigi because all of our characters are stateside. All of our characters are stateside. So that means that Gigi has their own adventures going on. And does that mean that Gigi could run afoul of any of our other surviving characters who did not show up in these first 2 seasons? Who knows? But that's exciting that there's a new path for this character to go out with, because the thing is that we know Gigi was murderous back when they were in the doll back in Seed of Chucky. You had the 2 personalities of Glenn and Glenda. One wanted to be a murderer, the other one didn't. that was kind of resolved at the end, where they were excised from the doll, sent to the two kids that Tiffany as Jennifer Tilly ended up getting. And then here in the TV show, kind of the same thing, that the kids, the now grown-up kids, weren't that interested in murder. They had those murderistic tendencies, and yes, they did murder a few people throughout the show, but it was all kind of seen as a way of protecting other people. None of these murders were really villainous murders like some of them were in Seed of Chucky. So I'm very intrigued to see, what does that mean for Gigi? Is this going to be a hero character, somebody who could rise up against Chucky? Because remember, throughout this season and their interactions, Chucky has still been telling Gigi that it's in your nature, it's in your blood, but Chucky has also vowed revenge as well too. So no clue where we're going with this. I have no idea at all where we go with Gigi, but I'm excited to see where this character is going, and a quite tearful goodbye, because it just seems that for the life of her, Tiffany just can't keep anybody around with her, and that's sad to say. That's incredibly sad to say there. Meanwhile, Jake and Lexi decided to go ahead and get into group therapy as a way of kind of working, at least for Lexi, working out her drug addiction that she's had over the course of this season from everything that's happened in season 1. And Jake, obviously needs a bit of it too from his grief dealing with Gary's death and all the depth that's around them. Now, Jake and Devin have been so strained this season that Lexi, wanting to be with her friends and reconnect, as well as hopefully giving a chance for Jake and Devin to reconnect, invites them both over to celebrate Christmas with them and her mom, Major Cross. And a lot of relationships end up getting mended here. Jake and Devin are finally forced to confront each other of the fact that they've been dealing with so much bullshit over the course of this season that they've really been avoiding each other and not really engaging the way that they want. Devin gets Jake a present. Jake goes and buys a podcasting present for Devin that, Devin hasn't really been interested in that in quite a while. And it forces the two of them to kind of face that ugliness that they've been refusing to do over the course of this season. And finally make amends, which is great to see, because let me tell y'all, the evolution of this relationship, not just between Jake and Devin, but between Jake, Devin, and Lexi, has been so damn just fantastic. Seeing these kids grow up, and especially Lexi becoming this amazing person from like the bitch bully she was presented as at the beginning of season 1. I just love seeing the evolution of these three, and I really do hope there's more adventures for these three to come as well too. And Lexi even went on to make up with her mom, Mayor Cross, who there's obviously some strains there too, as she's pretty much blocked out that the thing with Chucky actually happened. And her and Lexi were able to find some common ground together and kind of mend a lot of those fences that the two of those had broken as well too. Unfortunately, all of that was very short-lived, as everybody was all meeting up here at the Cross house, as Chucky arrives at the house, and so does Tiffany, who's looking for the Belle doll that we saw at the beginning of the season. If you recall, we saw that Lexi's sister Caroline actually had a Belle doll that we knew was the doll that Tiffany uses to put her body in back in Bride of Chucky and subsequent times she's transferred her soul over. But when Jennifer Tilly killed herself in the Belle doll body a couple episodes ago, it left her in a bad spot. So she had to get this last doll, or at least one of the last dolls here, from Caroline, and she shows up, but in glorious Chucky fashion, Chucky murders the last surviving parent of our three heroes by gruesomely cutting the shit out of Mayor Cross with the world's most silent chainsaw. It was an amazing kill. It's so sad to see Mayor Cross go, because that means now all the parents have officially gone. The thing that Chucky was not able to do, because remember, Andy's mom, Karen Barclay, is still out there right now. So Chucky was able to kill all three of these kids' parents, and that's just sad, especially right around the holidays. But then the tables get turned, because Lexi catches Chucky in the act of doing it, and when Chucky pleads for Tiffany to save him, Tiffany declines it, because obviously the two of them have a very strained relationship, with Chucky wanting to kill her too, and Lexi kills the last Chucky doll. But we find out as they go on to kill Tiffany, because remember, it's not over yet. Just because Tiffany's not trying to kill them doesn't mean they can let things slide. The kids go to kill Tiffany, but Caroline, who has been getting talked to by Chucky apparently for a long, long time, decides that Tiffany is her real mother and absconds with Tiffany, leaving Jake, Devin, and Lexi with Mayor across his body, a Chucky doll, and trying to figure an explanation about what's going on. Now, thankfully for them, Jennifer Tilly was still at large, so when the cops show up, they're able to blame all the murders on Jennifer Tilly showing up at that point. And Miss Fairchild, their teacher from season 1, returns, who believes their stories about Chucky and decides that she's going to take him in. So I would have to imagine the next season is going to deal with Jake, Devin, and Lexi and Miss Fairchild going off in search of Caroline and Tiffany to get this all wrapped up. We skip ahead a few weeks later where Tiffany and Caroline are in New York, and we find out that Nika is watching Tiffany because Nika wants revenge. Again, she lost her limbs to her and she almost killed her. Nika clearly wants revenge, but as Tiffany attempts to transfer her soul into the Belle doll, we find out finally what the Belle doll was. It was Chucky in makeup in a wig the whole season. So when this doll got introduced at the beginning of the season, we knew something was up. Caroline was especially close to that doll for some reason, and while we all thought it might have been trauma, it turns out it was Chucky in disguise, who we know had been poisoning Caroline's mind the entire season. And we are left off with Chucky attacking Tiffany. We don't know if Tiffany's dead, but we do know that that was Chucky, and Chucky's attacking her. So, what a great way, what a fantastic way to end this season, and leaving us in so many places, because none of these storylines are really resolved at this point. There is still a Chucky out there. We don't know if Tiffany's dead or if Tiffany, was just maimed by Chucky. Maybe she got the same fate that Nika got as well. 2, Caroline is missing. Our 3 heroes are with Miss Fairchild and probably in search of Caroline now. And Gigi is over in England. We have so many plot threads and we don't have a renewal yet. Let's get that renewal, USA. You're not dumb. We know what's up. Give us season 3. Let's hear it. I didn't hear fall finale for no reason now. Let's get that announcement. Okay, tonight we are talking Terrifier 2. So, this has been one y'all been bugging me about for quite some time at this point there, because Terrifier 2 has just been on a roll. On a $250,000 budget, this movie has made over $11 million. It is a hit amongst hits. It is what horror needs to be, and like it or hate it, because here's the thing, doesn't really matter, in my opinion, doesn't really matter your opinion on this film, honestly. Realistically, you need to give these people their due, okay? Damien Leone is absolutely the man with a plan here. The fact that this film has done what it's been able to do these last few months is nothing short of just a huge success. And it further proves the fact that horror in the pandemic and in the post-pandemic is back. It's on a roll. And I say back because honestly, horror box offices have been hit or miss. And especially a film like this that it's to the extreme, honestly. It's very much to the extreme. This is like the horror that people are always worried about here. A lot of people are extremely, extremely worried that horror looks all like this, where it's bloody, it's gory, it's just over the top. And this is exactly what Terrifier 2, Terrifier 1 was for sure. That saw kill, oh man, that's an old-timer right there. But Terrifier 2 ups this ante like crazy, and it is just absolutely a huge success that we should all be proud of. I'm just so happy to see this being done. So, let's jump into the story here. If you saw Terrifier 1, you saw the Miles County Massacre. Art the Clown going around and following these two girls and one of the girls' younger sister that shows up to help them out of a bind, and all of them suffer at the hands of Art the Clown. And here's the thing. The end of that film, which I kind of have to spoil, but I kind of feel this is an okay exception to the 10-year rule. I'm not going to spoil the end of Terrifier 2, but I have to kind of spoil the end of the first Terrifier because these movies are like a love letter to the horror films of old. Okay, I'm talking like the extreme, bloody, the Mutilator, and House on Sorority Row and things like that from back in the day where it was really just about the killer, you know? It's a love letter to those films of the 70s and the 80s. And so what's the spoiler going to be, honestly? Okay, there's not really that big of a spoiler in this here. But the original Terrifier ends with our antagonist, our killer, Art the Clown, killing himself by, eating a pistol and shooting himself. And that's the end of it before the police can actually apprehend him. And what happens there is that Art the Clown reanimates inside the body bag and goes to kill the medical examiner that's investigating him. And that's the end of the original Terrifier film. Terrifier 2 picks up right after that to where Art the Clown murders the coroner that's investigating him, and then goes to a laundromat to clean his blood-soaked garments in a hilarious scene. And he encounters the little pale girl who is a sinister entity who's dressed very similar to him in clown attire, and is kind of giving him encouragement and insight on what he's doing. So, story-wise here, and it's interesting because, again, I couldn't tell you much about All Hallows Eve 1 and 2, honestly. I watched them, but I don't really remember the Art the Clown segments. And so watching the first Terrifier, that's very much a non-supernatural kind of outing at that point. This guy looks like he's just a deranged killer who's going around and hunting people, and unfortunately, the people that run afoul of him end up getting murdered pretty gruesomely. And he's not choosy. He kills anybody that basically comes along his way, and he decides that he doesn't want them there. And that still seems to be the case here in Terrifier 2 as well. But the difference here is that there's definitely more of a supernatural approach with it, because obviously Art the Clown gets brought back from absolute death at that. So we already know he's supernatural. And now that he's seeing visions of an inspiration, a kindred spirit, whatever you want to call it at that point there, we know that things are taken a little bit further than what they were in the original movie as well. And our story this time focuses on siblings Sienna and Jonathan Shaw, who their father had an obsession with serial killers and Art the Clown specifically, and they've been discovering sketches of not only Art, but the victims that Art the Clown killed in the first film in their late father's sketchbook. And even Sienna's having these nightmares of Art the Clown and being a victim in his world as well too. And that part of this costume that she's designing for this Halloween party, that this sword that was a gift to her from her father is somehow going to be important at some point in this movie. We know it will be. It's clearly a MacGuffin at that point. And from there, the movie just descends into batshit insanity. They talk a little bit about some of the events of the first film, including one of our protagonists, how they ended up becoming kind of a villain by the end of that film. We're going to talk about who, because again, you can watch the movie and find that out yourself there. But one of our protagonists in the first film ended up basically becoming a villain. They were driven crazy by the end of that first film. And our main protagonist, Sienna, played by Lauren Lavera, her and her friends discussing what happened with these people a year prior. And this is where Art basically shows up and starts to transfix himself onto Sienna and her group of friends as he systematically goes around killing all of her friends and even her family members throughout Halloween night. And that was something that added a lot of charm to this movie, I thought, as well, too, is that it's actually a Halloween movie about killing. Because, we say when the Halloween season comes around, that's when we're going to watch things like our Freddy's, our Jason's, our Chucky's. But outside of the Halloween series, how many of these movies actually take place during Halloween? Isn't there something inherently scarier about a killer actually killing people on Halloween? Because you would actually think by reverse logic, that is the safest night in the world at that point there. Because everybody's killing on Halloween, right? So why would you actually be a killer on Halloween? You're likely to get caught. You're likely to get in a lot more trouble if you're doing all this on Halloween, right? So it does make a lot of sense that not too many movies actually take place on Halloween night or even around Halloween. So it was actually nice. It actually added some charm, I felt, to the movie. The fact that this is taking place, both of them really, are taking place on Halloween itself. I like that actually quite a bit. And it's interesting because the character of the little pale girl that is clearly with Art, whether it's this demon that's resurrected him or a witch of some kind or whatever, we don't know what she is at that point, although it's alluded to that she's a former victim of Art's. There's only certain characters that have the ability to see her, so that adds this shroud of mystery around Art himself. And I do find that interesting because the character themselves is not that interesting in the first film, and that's not a knock. That's not a knock against it at all there. But the character themselves is not that interesting. A lot of the characters in that first film really aren't that interesting. And again, that's okay, because that's not really, in my opinion, why you're watching that movie. You're watching it to see some out of the world, absolutely insane kills. And that's still the case in this one, but I feel they do a much better job building up our victims in this film, building up the people who are getting hunted down by Art the Clown, and that makes it for a much more engaging story. It's not a wonder why this is getting so many good reviews and why this has such a great reception coming to it, is because the character work here is a lot better. Think of how like Friday the 13th is a terrible comparison, and the problem is that I always go to the name brands. With it, but I guess it really would be a comparison of, think of Friday the 13th and then move forward to literally any other franchise to where the characters actually have some work put into it. That's kind of how it changes from Terrifier 1 to Terrifier 2. Still both really good films, but the second is clearly superior because along with the absolutely insane kills we get, and there's a lot of them, a lot of fun new weapons that get used, a lot of fun gruesome ways that Art is taking folks out, and a lot of very over-the-top, brutal, torturous kills in this as well. But I do feel, though, that that they added a lot of really good character work, which really helps to make up and balance everything that's going on. Like, it's kind of like, it's not like it's justification, or it's not like it's a reasoning for everything that's going on, but it does strike that great balance to things to make you more invested into watching the film. Because I gotta understand, folks who see like the first few kills of this movie and just decide, I'm out at this point. Like, there's nothing in there for me. But I do feel, if you then allow yourself to see that the characters are being built and there's this world that's clearly coming up here for Art the Clown, it's very obviously building to something bigger that's going on. And the movie definitely ends setting up for a further sequel, which again is very, very awesome to see, because again, this is the little train engine that could, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes. And it's kind of weird because I'm going to be honest. I've watched it, 3 times at this point now, and I found myself, I originally was saying like, I don't really know about it. Like, I don't hate it, and I respect the shit out of it for what it's done for the horror community, but it's not really for me. And now that I've seen it 3 times and I'm thinking about it, I was like, damn, this movie is actually a lot better than I really was trying to give it credit for. And that's on me for not realizing those things. Sometimes you have to actually speak it out. Sometimes you have to actually say it to actually form those opinions. And Terrifier 2, upon like multiple viewings, actually ends up being a lot better than the sum of its parts, honestly. It's better than the kills that you think that you're seeing here on screen. And it's absolutely worth catching as well, too. Again, we're setting up very obviously, I feel, here for a third film. I think that's going to be pretty cool if we get it there. This movie was huge. So, I mean, we're gonna assume that we're gonna go ahead and get a third film out of this, but I don't want to. I don't obviously want to count chickens before they hatch, but it's already on video on demand. It came out back on November 11th, and the physical release is set to come out here at the end of December. So support it, pick it up, because folks, this movie is absolutely worth it, and we absolutely want to see Terrifier 3. I know that again, our creator, Damien Leone, has absolutely confirmed that we're getting a third one as well. David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, he's confirmed it as well, too. So we know that we're going to get a third film, and as long as this money keeps coming in for it there, folks, we could see a fourth, a fifth, or even more films coming out there, y'all. This has a chance to be the next big franchise for us, and we need that in horror. That's what y'all been wanting. Let's do it. Let's support a new icon coming out. So check it out, Terrifier 2. Hey everybody, I appreciate you checking out this video, whether it was a review, whether it was a new episode, whether it was an unboxing, an interview, or whatever else. I want to remind you can check out my separate reviews also on my YouTube page, and new full episodes go up every Wednesday night on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and on your favorite podcasting platforms at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.